Tickety Test 1, 2. We are recording and it's time to talk about Java arrays. Arrays in Java, they're the foundational data structure in Java, and I'm going to define them right now. Defining arrays. An array is a collection of individual data items of the same data type and of a fixed size, meaning the number of items. The number of items in an array cannot be changed once set, and the data in an array can be changed. So the actual data items can be modified, but the size of the array cannot be changed, and items in an array must be all of the same data type. Really, if you kind of take this out to the broader computer science definition, an array is a collection of items of the same data type and a fixed size. Yeah, so really remember those two. Same data type, like all integers, all strings, all doubles, and a fixed size, meaning you cannot add or remove items. Let's talk about how to create arrays in Java. You can create arrays by specifying a size for the array, or specifying the exact data items that you want to populate the array with. And I'll show you both of those cases right here. In this code, in the first piece of the snippet, we have defined an array with the size only. When we see this new int brackets 5, I'll break this down a little bit. The array creation syntax in Java, you specify the data type, which is int, for the array. Remember, they all have to be of the same type, so this is an integer array. And we specify the square brackets. The square brackets really say array, so you can read this as integer array. And then we have the name of the array, which is num array, and we have new int brackets 5. The new operator reserves memory for the array. So whenever you initialize an array, you need to use the new operator to initialize the memory space for it. And int with a 5 in the brackets means we're going to reserve 5 slots basically for this array. It's going to be an integer of size 5. So this is how you do it with the size only. So this is going to create an array with 5 things in it, and using this syntax, we are not setting the 5 elements to a certain size. They're just going to be there, and they're actually going to be initialized to 0 in this case. So we're going to have an array of 5 zeros, because that is the default value that integers are initialized to if you do not specify a value for them. Moving on to the next one. This one is initialized with exact elements, or with exact items. So we have the same syntax on the left side, which is int empty brackets, and then this is the name of the array, equal sign, and then we have new int, again to reserve the space, or to create the space, and then we have exact items inside of curly braces. Now here we have 6 integers, and we have exact values. And as it says here on the bottom of the slide, when you're populating the array at creation, the list of elements in the curly braces is called an initializer list. So when you specify the items to populate it with, you are creating an initializer list. And that is what this is right here. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this is an initializer list. And this array will be populated with the numbers 1 through 6, and its size will be 6. And see, in Java, you don't need to put a size in there when you initialize with an initializer list, because the size is implied. Because if I give you 6 things, your array is going to be size 6. So you don't need to put the 6 in there. So that's how you create arrays in Java. This slide is just to show you that arrays can be composed of any data type. Really, yeah, any data type in Java you can put and collect into an array, whether it be string, double, integer, float, any custom objects that you create, any objects that are in the Java class library, which you'll find out about later on in the course. Anything, any data type can be grouped into arrays. And the array will be a collection of individual pieces of that data type. Let's go into this amazing topic called indexing. And what is indexing? A very important topic in programming. It is the ability to access individual items in an array. That's called indexing. Indexing is done by accessing individual items from an array using a location number called an index. You can think of an index kind of like an address, because it is how you numerically address items in an array. Like the first item, the second item, the third item, you can get to them via a number called an index. Now, vocabulary-wise, and I've said this already, or I've said the word already, each item in an array is called an element. Each element has an associated index. So the elements are the individual data items, and each one of those has an index. Each one has a location number. Indexes begin sequentially from the leftmost element, starting at 0 and counting up going to the right. As we remember in computer science, counting starts with 0, so the index numbers start with 0. Here's a little graphic on it, where you see on the bottom we have an array of strings, and then here we have the corresponding index numbers. And again, like I said, these are like addresses. Like, where is the item in the array? Well, hello is at item 0. Hey is at 1. What up is at 2. And hola is at 3. So these are the corresponding indexes, and as you see, they increase going to the right. So that's how indexes work. Now I'm going to show you how to use indexes to access individual items, which is what indexes are really used for. To access individual items in the array, you're going to specify the name of the array, followed by a set of square brackets. Inside those square brackets, you're going to place the index of the desired element. Like this, where we have our array right here, and then this is the indexing, my friends. It is the name of the array, so you can kind of map that there. Name of the array right there, and then index of the desired element in square brackets. Greetings, this is the name of the array, square brackets, and then a 2. The 2 is the index that we're trying to get to, and it's going to give you the what up because it's 0, 1, 2. So basically, indexing, you specify the index or the address of the element you're trying to access, and ask and you shall receive, it's going to access that one. Let's look at this idea in real-time code in online GDB. Got this all set up here. Same exact code. And I'll run it as is so you can see what we get. You see we got what up because it's element 2. Let's play around with this a little bit. You put in element 0. That's going to get you the hello because that's the first element. As you see, you put in element 3. That gives you hola because it's the last, hola is the last element. How about if you put in an element that's not in the array? Like the valid element numbers are going to be 0 through 3 for this array. What if we happen to put in something like 13? Of course, there's not 13 elements in here. Let's see what happens. Exception, which is a Java error, and it says array out of bounds exception, which, yeah, that kind of makes sense. It doesn't kind of make sense, it completely makes sense, because you're outside of the boundaries, you're outside of the index boundaries. The index boundaries are 0 and 3, or 0 to 3, and we're putting in a 13. So if you try to access outside the boundary, you're going to get that access index out of bounds exception. Back to the slides. Let's look at array modification. So like I said, the data items in an array can change, and to do those changes, you can use indexing. So when you want to modify an array, you can use indexing to do that by using indexing syntax and then making it equal to the new value. Like it says, to modify data already existing in an array, you can use indexing to access the individual items and then set them equal to the desired value. So we start with this array and then we index into element 1 and we set it equal to yo. This will change hey to yo. That's what this syntax does. Looking at the next one, aloha, that takes element 2 and changes it to aloha. Basically kind of deletes that and inserts it there. So when you use indexing along with the assignment operator and set it equal to something else, it changes the array. Let's take this idea into code here. Yo and aloha. Get rid of that. Got caps lock on. Get rid of that. I'm going to change element 0 to yo mama, change it up from the slides a little bit. You already saw the slides, but this is going to change element 0 to yo mama. It's going to delete hello and put yo mama in its place. And then I need to print the array to show you the difference, but printing an array in Java is a little bit different. So I've got to actually do a little something up here to make that happen. want that. It's a little side note, but to be able to print things effectively, or to print arrays kind of in an easy way in Java, you got to use the arrays class and use a method called toString to do it. Otherwise, you have to loop through the array, and I don't want to do all that code right now to make this quick. But I'm going to print this, and you're going to see that hello has been changed to yo mama. And see, yo mama, hey, what up, hola, changed from hello. You can even do a before and after here. Where this is like a before and after. And I could even kind of prefix this with a before and after if I wanted to be more user friendly, because you can just use concatenation. But although you guys I haven't covered concatenation yet, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but you'll see it later on. It's combining strings with the plus symbol. You may have seen it in another language because it's in a lot of them. But I'm doing a before and after here so you can see before the change and after the change. There we go. There we go. We'll put in one more change here just for the heck of it. We'll change element 3 to something else. We'll change element 3 to later. It won't be a greeting, it'll be a goodbye, sort of. What? I think I hit the wrong thing. Stop. I hit debug instead of run. Run it, run it, run it. Okay, so we see later has been there, and yo mama is there. So that is how you can modify elements using indexing. Let's go back to the slides. If you want to obtain the number of items in an array, you're going to use the .length property. The arrays in Java have a property called .length, which is going to tell you the number of items in the array, and that is also termed the size of the array. So we have pretty much our same array here. If we type greetings.length, it gives you the number of items in the array, and the data type is an integer. So greetings.length will be an integer, and here it's going to print 4. Let's look at this one in code. Let's just delete these, and we'll just do greetings.length. You'll see that it is a 4 down there. If we take away 2 elements, guess what? It's a 2. We add them back. Whoa. We add them back and put in another one. That'll give us a 5, and there we go. So whatever the length is at that time, it's going to give you the number of items. And again, this is an integer. And you could take the output of this, and put it into an integer variable if you want, because it is an integer. Moving on. using arrays and loops. To access each element of an array, or to print out all the elements of an array in an automated manner, you can use looping. And this is how it looks. So a lot of the power of arrays is grouping them together and then accessing them in an automated way, and you can do that via loops because of course loops are the the automation drivers in programming. So we create an array up here at the top, an integer array, populate it with an initializer list, and then we have a loop where we set up our for loop sections. We initialize I to 0. We say while I, remember the condition section, you kind of should read it like this, putting a while up there sort of in your mind. While I is less than tens.length, remember we just went over the length property. This is going to give you the number of items, which is really going to create a limit for your looping, because your objective here is to access each item. Well, to access each item, you have to go the entire length of the array, so it makes sense that your condition would be the length of the array. We have 5 items, so our condition should be while I is less than 5. Because you see tens.length really in this case is going to resolve to 5. So you can almost say while I is less than 5. But you want to use .length in case the length of the array were to change, because it's gonna protect you in that if the number of items in the array changes, length is just going to get the current length of it. So if it changes to 3 or 2 or 10, you don't have to change the code as well. It's going to adjust automatically. So while I is less than the length, I++, meaning of course you're just going to increment or add 1 to I each time. This is how you set up the for loop header. So it's going to loop 5 times in this scenario, and then what is it going to do? It is going to simply print each element. And what we have here is what is sometimes called variable indexing, where we're indexing into the array using a variable, and you know from the looping setup that the possible values of I as this thing loops are going to be 0 to 4. And it's going to change for each iteration, each turn of the loop, where on the first turn I is going to be 0. So this indexing is going to give you tens index 0, which is going to be this one. On the next turn, it's going to give you tens index 1, which will be the 20. Next turn, tens index 2, which is going to be the 3. As we know, we can go 0, 1, 2, so on and so forth. So I is going to be going up by 1, and it's going to be accessing each element of the array as it moves forward. And that's how it's going to work. And as it says down here, a point I made earlier, the usage of the .length in the condition section, it's going to govern the number of iterations, the number of times it loops. And there we go. Let's try out this one in online GDB. Right here, we got that code. The output is going to be accessing each element of the list one at a time and printing them out one at a time. That's what we get here. This is a way to automate the access of the elements in the loop. Very useful operation. And notice if I add items to the list, oops, I make no other modifications to the code and just run it, it will adjust. See, it picks up the extra items. And that's due to the using the dot length property instead of what they say hard coding, or as they say hard coding the number. So if I hard coded the number and I add more elements, I would only get the original number of elements, not the new number of elements. So the usage of tens dot length, super important. Yeah. All right, folks, so that's the topic of arrays. Next, we're going to look at strings. Stay tuned.